Happy New Year, viewers! This is Sparkster1701 here, and we're going to take a look for the start of 2019 at a subgroup of Transformers that I don't look at too often. We're going to take a look at a pair of cassettes we have here this week, the Autobots Eject and Ramhorn. Now, these guys were released together in 1986. They would also be on the shelves in 1987. They would be discontinued in 1988, and we would not get a replacement for either one of them. Now, there's an interesting history to go along with the Cassette Warriors, as these guys are Autobots. But they were strangely released the year after their cassette player, Blaster, was released. As Blaster came out in 1985, but he had no minions until 1986. So unfortunately, because of the late release, these guys really didn't get a lot of chance to be developed on the show. And that's probably the biggest crime against them, really. Okay, enough of the trivia. Let's get started with the reviews. We'll start by taking a look at Eject. So you can see Eject is a little blue robot. He shares the exact same mold and weapons as his counterpart Rewind. And of course, as you can see, he's got some chrome plating here on his chest. The cassette portion on his backside is done up with stickers, so if you're a purist and want the best condition, you'll definitely want to look those features over when purchasing loose ejects. Taking a look at his articulation, he is surprisingly rather well articulated for a Transformer of his size. He has a joint at the shoulder, so you can rotate his arms at the shoulder all the way. There is a joint at the bicep of his arms, so it does allow his arms to rotate. They swing out pretty good. They have to be pushed inward a little bit to swing inside like that. But he does have a pretty good range of motion with his arms. And then down here at his legs, he does have a joint at the hip that not only allows the hip to turn the leg from side to side, and there is a joint at the knee, so you can bend his legs at the knee backward at about 90 degrees. And of course there is one at the ankle, but that's more for transforming him than it is for any other real purpose. And of course, to transform Eject, we start by removing his guns. Of course, while we're at it, we'll take a look at his gun, because they're both the same. This is his gun. His card file calls these electrical overload guns. His guns are chrome plated. Now these are gold. These are the earlier gold variant for his guns. There is a silver variant that was done later and is more common. But this is the earlier gold release, and as you can see, they are in very good shape. And yes, if you're wondering, these two are from my childhood, so they actually are in pretty surprisingly good shape for toys that are almost 40 years old. Alright, to transform Eject, we'll start by reaching down here to his hands and folding them into his arms. Then we'll rotate his arms and push them up into the shoulders. Rotate them so this circular portion here goes inside to his chest. We'll push his head down and push the shoulders inward. Hold everything in place. And of course, given the age, the spring mechanism that holds his head in may not work still, so we'll just hold on to him with a death grip here and try to keep his head in. Down here at his legs, you fold the feet in backwards. Then you're going to turn the legs like so. So the widest part is facing outside. Then you'll bend them at the knee and then slide them inward, like so. And then we turn him around, go back with the death grip. And here is his alternate mode, which is, of course, a cassette tape, a micro cassette tape. For those of you younger viewers out there that weren't around in the 1980s, this was usually how we would listen to some of our music. We could put these into portable units, and we could listen to our music anywhere we wanted. But of course, we bought the cassette tapes, or we recorded it somehow. Don't tell the music industry that. Set him aside, and we'll take a look here at Ramhorn. As you can see, Ramhorn's robot mode is that of a rhinoceros. Which is an interesting and somewhat different alternate mode, especially when you consider the fact that the animal Decepticons had a jaguar and a pair of birds, and in 1986 they got a bat, so a rhinoceros is kind of nice. And of course, on the other side, you predominantly get to see the cassette labeling. And of course, for many of you purist fans, the eyes on Ramhorn are painted on. They're painted in a chrome color, so again, the chrome does wear out on them, so do inspect loose samples if that is something that means a lot to you. As far as articulation goes, he's also got a fair amount of articulation. The head can rock up and down, as can his tail. The front legs have a joint at the hip that allows them to bend at the hip like so. There is a joint at the knees as well. And furthermore, there is a difficult joint to use at the ankle. The back legs also have a joint at the hip that allows him to kick straight backwards, if you so please. There is also a joint at the knee and the ankle. So his legs are fully articulated, the same, both ends. Now to transform Ramhorn, again, start by removing his weapons. And we'll take a look at his weapons real quick. He's got a pair of missile boxes. And while they look the same, they are opposites. So you'll want to make sure you're buying a left and a right. And of course on the inside they are hollow. There's the other one, prove they're both hollow. And like Eject's weapons, these are the gold variant, the earlier release. There are silver variants that are more common. And these are also in chrome, so again, if you're picky about that sort of thing, make sure to look them over. Alright, getting back to Ramhorn here, we'll start. We take his head, we fold it all the way over till it stops moving. And then we'll fold his tail in, like so. The front legs, we just fold them up at the hip, and then adjust at the ankle, so that it kind of matches along the edge, like so. For his back legs, fold the feet up at the ankle, then fold them at the knee, and then at the hip to rest against the body. And here's Ramhorn in his cassette mode. It's a little better because he doesn't rely on the spring mechanism that his partner Eject does, but as you can see, the label is just about as prone to wear. But all in all, they're not bad for what they are. Note of caution here with Ramhorn, those feet are always a pain to get into the proper position to keep him upright like that. As I was setting this up, he fell down at least 3 times. So, do watch out for that when you are playing, when you do have your own Ramhorn. He will fall down numerous times. Okay, now let's take a look at their instructions, which are on this card backer. It's not the best in the world, but at least you get to see the artwork. And down here at the bottom, this would be where the cassettes were. Up here would be their respective weapons. This one was sold at Kmart, and it retailed for about $5. Like if you can get a Transformer for $5 anymore. Here on the back side, you can see the instructions more or less dominate this one side here of the card. They start off with ejects. Of course, the instructions here list his guns as thruster guns. And then at the bottom they do Ramhorn. Well, it lacks the mural of 1986. It does have the instructions about their rub signs. And down at the bottom, next to the barcode, we have the robot points. They were worth 1 point. And the rest of the card, as you can see, is pretty much overtaken by their tech specs. So we'll take a look at Ramhorn's first, since he's on top. We'll state the obvious about the two of them. Their pictures match the ones that are here on the front of the card. They're done up in red to show they are Autobots. They're even labeled as Autobot. First one up here is Ramhorn. His function is Warrior. And his motto is, "Flee before me or else you'll fall before me. Don't touch him if you value your life, 'cause he'll smash you. Extremely territorial, nasty hair-trigger temper. Best way to deal with him is from a distance. His charge is virtually unstoppable. Can knock a train off its tracks or upend an 18-wheeler with one blow. Has 2 batteries of 3 laser-guided heat-seeking missiles that can lock in and hit a target up to 12 miles away. As cassette, can vibrate and destroy any equipment into which he is inserted." So, Ramhorn's a very destructive character, as some people usually tend to think of a rhinoceros. As rhinos do tend to charge at a lot of things. But we should also remember that a real rhinoceros is also a very fragile animal. The adrenaline shock that they have from a lot of their antics can tend to cause them to drop dead in a matter of minutes. For those of you that enjoy some vintage movies, the John Wayne classic Hatari does feature a fair amount of footage featuring rhinoceros. So, if you want to see some real rhinos in action, that's one to check out. At any rate, let's take a look at Ramhorn's vital stats here. It lists his strength as 8, his intelligence is 4, his speed is 3, his endurance is 9, his rank is 5, his courage is also 9, his firepower is 3, and his skill is 4, so while he's very brave and strong, he doesn't really have a lot going for him in the other departments. Then we get down to his partner. His partner is Eject, and his function is electronic surveillance. And his motto is, Clutch hitting is the key to an effective offense. An earthen sports fanatic. Sports cliches clutter his conversation. A surprise attack is a fast break. A victory is a touchdown. Few Autobots understand what he says, but they like the enthusiasm with which he says it. Could be a play-by-play announcer if given the chance. In cassette mode, can monitor and record local radio and TV, decode scrambled signals, tap telephones. In robot mode, uses electrical overload guns. Sometimes his internal tape snaps when he's excited. Okay, let's take a look at the sports fanatic's stats. See how he rates up. It lists his strength as 6. His intelligence is also 6. His speed is 2. His endurance is 6, as is his rank. His courage is 8. His firepower is 5. And his skill is 8. So he's not too bad, considering what he has to work with. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of them? Eject and Ramhorn are a nice pair of opposites. You got a sports fanatic and a demolition derby on legs together, and I think they make an effective pair of warriors for the Autobot army. I mean, while Ramhorn certainly doesn't bring a whole lot to the table by himself, the fact that he is a charging berserker that is virtually unstoppable once he gets going certainly is somebody that'll help plow through the front lines of battle, and usually without a second thought. Eject, while I'm not a sports fanatic like he is, I think he does serve a decent purpose in there with the army, as he does have his own ways of tapping into the various devices. Of course, these things were also set up for the 1980s, so it's hard to say how effective he would be by today's standards, but I'm sure he would have adapted to many more of the devices of today, like being able to hack into the Wi-Fi and even our cellular phones. Big Brother is watching, and he's an Autobot. But all in all, I also think they had some great tech specs written for them. Again, my only real major problem with these two is the fact that they were brought in so late into the Transformers universe. We had already seen many of Soundwave's minions throughout the cartoon, save of course for Frenzy and Buzzsaw. They were more off to the sidelines, but Rumble, Ravage, and Laserbeak got a lot of time in the cartoon, and we didn't see Blaster's minions until somewhat into the opening moments of Transformers the movie, and none of them had a speaking role. They just popped out and they attacked Soundwave's minions, saving Perceptor, and that was all we saw of them throughout the film. So that was kind of a wasted opportunity to develop them a little bit. And then they made sporadic appearances throughout the cartoon series after that. So they really didn't get much of a chance to be shown or developed. So these guys were more or less left to your imagination. Whether that's a good thing or not, that's up for debate amongst the fans. But I'm going to put these guys in the middle tier at least, because they are fantastic toys, and they just barely fall short of the top tier. I mean, you got some great articulation on them, and they do have some decent weaponry, and their tech specs are pretty good. They are somewhat accurate on reflecting how they should be. Just the only thing that really keeps them from being in the top tier is the lack of any real developed media on them. We didn't get the chance to see them a lot in the cartoon, and That, I think, is probably the biggest shame for them. As these guys were some of the cheaper ones, they were going to fly off the shelves faster than the big boys. There should have been an episode or two where these guys would have been the star of the show, but I think by then the series was getting so saturated with characters, everybody wanted to see their favorites, and anybody who wasn't was kind of brushed off and put off to the side. And that concludes my review of the 1986 Cassette Warriors Ramhorn and Eject. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're a new viewer, hit that subscribe button down below and join up in our ranks. And don't forget to click on the bell to get notified of all the future videos. Please also share your thoughts about Eject and Ramhorn in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.